In this video, I'm going to teach you about one of the most important summarization formulas that there is, COUNTIF. And I'm going to use my trusted jelly bean jar to do so. As the world of work evolves, Excel skills are needed more than ever before. Now, I harken back to my childhood when I'd go to the summer fete and there'd always be one stall which had the competition to see who could count how many jelly beans there are in a jar. And so everybody would write their number down and fold it up and put it in a thing. And at the end, they'd take it out and whoever got the closest would win. Now, here's the thing. To verify that result, it's a lot of work, right? And so it's easy enough if you just have to sit there and painstakingly count it out. But what if you needed to know how many white jelly beans there were or black jelly beans there are? Well, that's called conditional counting. And that's what COUNTIF allows us to do. It allows us to count things if they meet a certain criteria or a condition. So here's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to open it up and I'm going to pour it out. There we go. I'll pour out a few. I won't pour out the whole lot because I want to eat them later. Why would I buy jelly beans if I didn't eat them later? So let's say we want to count all the black ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say the green ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a bunch there. And then the orange ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then, do you know what? Who's got the time for that? Not me, and certainly not you. Now, thank goodness, in the real world, with real data, we don't have to rely on any of this manual bean counting. We can use Excel's COUNTIF to conditionally count our data. So let's move on into Excel and see how it works.
Right, I hope you enjoyed that juicy jelly bean introduction, but now let's move over onto something a lot more useful and meaningful and really dig into how this incredible COUNTIF formula works. And not only that, I'm going to extend it and we're going to learn a lot more about it and make it really useful for us. So I've got some data. It's like resource data. So we've got some names of people. We've got the roles that they occupy in their position and the date that they started, their grade, and then their line manager. By grade, I mean, you know, I'm a grade C, I'm a grade B. It's all about your pay scales, right? And so you've got about 100 rows of data. And now what I want to do is I'm going to answer this series of questions, and that's what's going to help us to really get our heads around how COUNTIF works. So let's do the first one. So using duplicate and COUNTIF, determine line manager empires. Now, what do I mean by line manager empires? Now, I work in a lot of organizations, and goodness me, line managers, managers, people, individuals do love building themselves their empires, right? They're like saying, oh, I've got 20 people working below me. Oh, I've got 50 people working below me. But so here's what we're going to do. So we are going to grab all of this data, and we've got these are multiple people in this list. So these are line managers. So you've got individuals who report into various line managers. So we need to get a unique list. We need to convert this into a unique list. And the easiest way to do that is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to another sheet. I'm just going to paste it. It doesn't matter, paste values, and then move over to data. And we just simply go to remove duplicates, hit OK, and there we go. And we've got 11 entries left. Okay. So we've got, I'm going to paste it here, bold that again, oh, excuse me, just bold that bit there. And we've got a total of 10 line managers. And now I want to work out how many resources sit under each line manager. So now let's go over to our brilliant COUNTIF formula. So we will do this, C equals COUNTIF equal, there we go. Now, here's what we're doing. So we're saying, what is the range that we're looking in? And what is our criteria? It's that simple. So our range is this. This is where all of the actual data exists. And we are saying our criteria. Well, I'll write it at first. First, I'll write it. So I'll say Sophia Alvarez. Okay. So, oops, there we go. There's a typo. It's Sophie Alvarez. Okay. So Sophie Alvarez has 11 resources. We can verify that. So we can go to our filters, turn it off, and just select Sophie Alvarez, and we can see that Sophie has indeed 11 resources. So the COUNTIF formula, does not lie. Now, wouldn't it be more convenient if we could, rather than just to write the name each time, do these formulas each time, but not have to write the name? Of course it is, and that's what I love about Excel. Let's remove that, and we just simply click that. There we go. That's now our criteria. And of course, the beauty of when you do that is you can just drag it down, and there we go. Look at that. Boom. This is how many resources sit under each of these individuals. So there we go. That's the COUNTIF part 1. So this is a simple example for that. Now, how many grade Fs are there? So for each of these individual line managers, they have, like, so Sophia has 11, but how many of those 11 are grade Fs? Okay, well, we can eyeball that. So we can do, I'll put our filter back on, and we can see, oh, she's got 1, she's got 2 and 3. But how can we do that formulaically so it's more automated? Well, now we're going to extend this so we can put on another criteria, but we have to slightly change things around a bit. So we're going to use now the plural version of this. So equals COUNTIFs. Okay, so now it's like this. You have a range 1, then you have a criteria for that. Then you have a range 2 and your criteria for that, and so forth. You can have as many as you want. So our criteria range 1 is going to be exactly as it was before. So we select the line manager column, and then we select our line manager there in our table entry. Now we're going to put another criteria in it. So we are interested in grade Fs. So we're going to, this is where the grade information is in this column, grade column D, and then we simply enter F like that in quote marks, and we hit enter. And as we verified previously, Sophia Alvarez has 3 resources. Oh, excuse me, I double clicked way too much. Let's just take it down this much. So now we've got some information. So let's just verify that again. Gail Boone. Gail Boone apparently has no grade Fs. And that's true. A, B, 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 E. Okay. All right, sorry to hear that, Gail. So now we're going to go and answer another question. So another COUNTIFs question. So this is the COUNTIFs question. So who manages the most grade Fs? We did that. Who manages people who started before 2005? That's a cool one. That's really useful. So what we can do is this. We now have to start looking at the date. So we're going to hit COUNTIFs again, and we're going to select our criteria range, which is, of course, line manager, and we are going to select that particular cell there. That's always important to these. And then the next criteria is we are looking at date started, right? So we select that column there. Now, how can we decipher, how can we assign the criteria to be anyone who started before 2005? Well, let me tell you, this is the easiest way of doing it. We put a quote mark there, and we use the less than inequality sign, and then we simply put the date in. So the date, and we're using the UK date format, so it will be anyone who started before 01/01/2005, and there we go. That's all we do. So that is, we're simply saying whoever started before the 1st of January 2005. That's how we denote that. And there we go. See, now we're getting some answers here. So look at this. So if we, again, let's just go to Sophia Alvarez. We know where we stand with Sophia. So we can see that Sophia's got 1, 2, 3, 4 people, of course, and we did indeed verify that. So now we've answered a number of questions with this, with COUNTIF and COUNTIFs. So how can we use formulas to analyze duplicates? So now sometimes we want to not get rid of our duplicates, but we want to be aware of our duplicates often. So like to get rid of them, as I did before, we would use remove duplicates in the data tab, but sometimes we just want to be aware of it. Now we established that there's a lot of duplicates here. So for example, if we're just trying to do this, like COUNTIF, this is how we would do it. So we would say COUNTIF, and then we would say this is our range, and now we put comma, and then we would say look for Sophia Alvarez. All right. And then Sophia Alvarez we would have 11 entries for that. We could just double click that down, and there we go. We can see lots of entries. Now, that's not really a big deal because we kind of captured that information here. But something useful would be like this. Let's say we want to find out if there are people who started on the same date. So we could do like this. We could do COUNTIF, right? And let's select this date range. And then we would say that's our criteria, that particular cell, because what we're going to do is drag it down in a second. But here's where it gets interesting. We're going to do this, greater than 1. So this is now saying, check this out. Let me explain what this is. This is saying, look in all of this range, and if you see this particular entry greater than 1 time, then just that's what we're saying here. And what that does, because we've got an equal and an inequality sign there, which is the same as, say, having an equal, it's, you know, the different versions of equal, what we're getting is a true or false out. So in this case, the false simply means that no, there is no duplicate value. Now, if we just double click that down, and let's have a look, and immediately, I can eyeball that there's something going on there. So now we've occupied that. So look, there we go. We've got a true value. So let's get rid of the false there from the auto filter. And would you Adam and Eve it? Look at these two people, Catherine Boone and Lucia Hansen, did indeed start on the same day. Now, that might be a useful piece of information for somebody, for whatever reason, you know, people, HR, or somebody who's processing extensions or bonuses or gosh knows what. So that is a very useful formula to do some analysis. Now, let's go over to the last thing in my list, in my hit list. Now, how many roles do we have? How many roles do we have? And what I mean by that is, here's our list of people, and you can see that often, you know, in this list, it's kind of sporadic. Not everybody has a role listed against them. So how can we determine what percentage, from a percentage perspective, do people have roles? Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to use a really a cool formula called COUNTA, or counta. All right, and counta does this. It simply says, oh, pick a list like that, and it will tell you how many of those are occupied with text. All right, that's all it does. So here's what I'm going to do. Boom, 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 boom. So I'm going to select all that. That's our names. All right, and that's roughly, you know, it's 96. It's about 95 entries, I think. So look, there you go. So out of that many entries, only 59 have a role listed against them. Now, we can work that out as a percentage, so that we can simply do this. We can write like this. So if I put equals that divided by, again, counter, and this time round we just do it against the names. So we are looking at how many names, all those names. All right. So do that, and oh, excuse me, Excel. It's spotted something. Oh, it's because I've managed to get an erroneous character. There we go, 60.62, and we can just convert that into a percentage. I often don't. I know, you know, 0.62 means 62%, but there you go. So 62% of people, shall we say, have a role listed against them, and therefore 38% of people do not. So they are the COUNTIF and the COUNTIFs and the counter. So I've just taught you through some simple and slightly more sophisticated ways to summarize your data when you need to count them.
Oh, sorry, I'm eating the goods here. If you like that video, hit subscribe, and there's going to be a whole lot more. See you later.